She wrestled with the tiger, neither afraid nor intimidated. With fearless determination, the young woman gripped the beast by its neck, forcing it to the ground. She refused to release her hold until the tiger gasped its final breath. She had defeated the fierce creature with nothing but her bare hands. But this was only the beginning. There was far more to this young woman than anyone realized. Stay with us to the very end, and you will witness events so extraordinary that her battle with the tiger will seem like the smallest challenge she ever faced. Now the story starts from the beginning. The night air felt heavy as the stranded travelers stepped away from the broken vehicle. The forest around them pressed close, tall trees swallowing the moonlight. Muna walked beside her only companion, a quiet young man named Kachi, who tried to act calm but whose breathing betrayed fear. The others hovered near the vehicle, whispering and blaming fate for their misfortune. None of them noticed the low growl rising behind the bushes until it was too late. When the tiger stepped out, its eyes fixed on them with a cold promise, Kachi froze. Someone screamed. Another person ran blindly into the trees. The tiger lowered itself, ready to spring, certain of its victory. But as it lunged, Muna moved faster than anyone thought possible. She threw herself forward, grabbing the animal by the neck, pressing her weight onto its back before it could twist free. Kachi staggered toward her, wanting to help, but rooted to the ground as the tiger thrashed under her grip. The animal's claws tore at the soil, its roar echoing through the bushes, yet she held on. She pressed harder until the tiger's body shook, then stilled. The forest went silent. Those who had hidden returned one by one, staring at her as if she were something not entirely human. Sweat clung to her skin, and her breathing was rough, but her eyes remained steady. People murmured questions she didn't answer. Relief washed through the group as they realized the danger was gone. But the twist came when the roadside mechanic, who had been pretending he couldn't fix the bus without extra pay, suddenly rushed forward and repaired the engine in minutes after seeing what Muna could do, afraid she might handle him the same way if he delayed any longer. They all climbed into the bus, still shaken. Conversations buzzed through the vehicle as they drove away from the dark highway. Eyes kept turning to Muna as though she carried fire inside her. Someone finally asked her name. Her voice was quiet, almost tired. "I am Muna," she said, "an orphan." Heads turned. They expected more, some grand story of training or power, but she said nothing else. The twist came when the old woman beside her whispered, "Orphans don't fight like that, unless someone taught them what the rest of us feared to learn." Muna simply looked out of the window, not confirming or denying it. She had fled her aunt's house hours earlier, cast out with no belongings, no direction, and no promise of tomorrow. She had only one choice: return to the village she once called home. As the bus rolled into the early morning light, she rested her head on the seat, unaware that her name was already traveling ahead of her. By the time she stepped off in the village square, people who hadn't seen her in years were whispering. Children peeked from behind market stalls. Hunters eyed her with a strange mix of respect and suspicion. Her bravery had reached them before her feet did, but the twist settled quietly at the edge of the crowd. Her estranged uncle, who had once rejected her, stepped forward with a wide, uneasy smile. "Muna," he said, "I knew one day you would return. Different." And the look in his eyes told her he knew something about her strength that she herself did not. The village king's daughter, Adaugo, had been on the same bus that night, hidden behind two seats, clutching a silk shawl to her chest as the tiger roared. She had watched Muna's battle from beginning to end, her eyes wide with shock. When Muna pinned the beast to the earth, Adaugo felt something shift inside her, something like admiration wrapped tightly around fear. By the time she reached the palace the next morning, she burst into the throne room, breathless as she relayed every detail. The king listened with his chin resting on his staff, his interest sharpening with each word. "He fought it alone?" he asked. "With her hands?" "Yes, father," Adaugo said. almost glowing as she spoke of Muna. She moved like someone who feared nothing. I have never seen such strength. The court murmured. The king's eyes warmed with a curiosity that had not stirred in years. It wasn't long before messengers were sent to fetch the young woman whose name already trembled like a rumor across the village. When Muna arrived, dusty but composed, the king stood to receive her. He asked her how she learned such courage. She said nothing more than, "Life teaches the orphan what comfort hides from others." Something in her answer pleased him. He honored her immediately, naming her the head of his royal security detail, an appointment that shocked the guards trained for years to stand where she stood in a single day. But if Muna felt pressure, she never showed it. Within weeks, she earned the loyalty of warriors older and stronger than she was. She moved through the palace with quiet confidence, and it didn't take long for the crown prince, Obiana, to fall in love with her. He admired how she spoke little, but understood much. How she guarded the palace gates with the same calm she carried when she faced a tiger. This was the twist the king's daughter could not swallow. Jealousy rooted itself deep in her chest. She had brought Muna into the palace with praises, only to find herself overshadowed. Every corridor whispered Muna's name. Every guard straightened when she approached. Worse still, her brother's eyes followed Muna everywhere. So Ada Ugo plotted carefully. She waited for the night the king asked for his evening drink, a sweet spiced mixture he took before retiring. She called the guards and claimed she saw Muna near the king's chamber with a strange pouch. She insisted she saw Muna sprinkle something into the royal cup. The guards hesitated. Muna's reputation stood taller than any accusation, but Ada Ugo's trembling voice and royal authority pushed them forward. Muna was brought into the throne room at once, surrounded by murmurs and suspicion. The king asked if she had tampered with his drink. She denied it firmly, but Ada Ugo pressed on with her performance, pretending to weep. "Let her taste the drink," she suggested coldly. "If it is safe, she will be unharmed." The king agreed. Muna lifted the cup and drank without protest, her eyes fixed on the king's face. She placed the empty cup down. 5 long minutes passed. Then her knees buckled. She fell to the floor, her breathing shallow, her body still. Gasps filled the hall. Ada Ugo pressed her hands to her lips, pretending to be shocked. The king's face hardened with betrayal. "Take her body," he ordered, "and throw it into the evil forest. Let whatever dwells there finish what she began." The guards lifted Muna's limp form and carried her toward the forbidden woods, unaware that the twist was still waiting, because Muna's chest, though faint, had not stopped rising. The guards carried Muna into the forbidden forest under the cover of night, moving quickly so the shadows would not swallow their courage. They laid her beneath a twisted tree set to drink the souls of the dying, then hurried back without looking over their shoulders. Muna's breath was thin, her body cold, and the forest watched her with quiet hunger. Hours later, a lone hunter named Ogbuefi moved through the woods with his bow slung across his back. He had come searching for traps, he said earlier, but the forest felt uneasy, as if holding his breath. Then he saw her, collapsed in the dirt, her palms scraped, her face pale. He knelt beside her, expecting to find a lifeless body, but when he touched her neck, he felt a small, stubborn pulse fighting to stay alive. Ogbuefi lifted her onto his shoulders and carried her to his hut deep inside the forest. He washed her wounds, ground herbs, and fed her bitter roots to cleanse whatever poison lingered in her blood. For days she drifted in and out of sleep, haunted by flashes of the throne room and the princess's trembling lies. But Ogbuefi cared for her with a patience born from years of living close to the land. By the time she sat up fully, the strength had returned to her eyes. "You did not leave me there," she whispered. "Why?" "Because death had not claimed you, and the forest does not decide the fate of the innocent." But back in the palace, fate was stirring. A young maid, trembling with guilt, knelt before the king. She revealed that she had seen Hidalgo hiding near the king's chalice earlier that night. She confessed she watched the princess pour powder from a small leather pouch into the drink before rushing off pretending to panic. The court erupted. The king's face drained of color, then of mercy. He ordered the princess arrested. She fought, screamed, accused everyone else, but the truth wrapped around her tighter than any rope. The village priest, summoned at once, stepped into the hall with an authority that silenced all voices. "Muna must be found," he declared. "If she lives, the kingdom must restore what it broke." The king wasted no time. Warriors searched the outskirts of the village, the farmlands, the riverbanks, but it was the forest that called them. Guided by the priest and hope that trembled on the edge of desperation, they entered the forbidden trees. Deep within, they found Ogbuefi's hut, and standing just outside it, alive, was Muna. She looked stronger than before, almost renewed. The men fell to their knees, stunned. Even the priest bowed. The king, who had come with them, stepped forward with tears cutting across his stern face. "Forgive your king," he said quietly. "Your life was almost taken by my blindness." Muna said nothing for a moment, only glanced at Ogbuefi, then back at the king. Then the unexpected happened. The priest announced that the gods had shown him a vision. Muna was not meant to serve the palace. She was meant to lead within it. She was crowned a princess before the moon completed its next cycle, adorned in garments that once belonged to daughters of kings. The celebration echoed throughout the kingdom. As for Adaugwe, the original princess, she was exiled beyond the river where the land met rough stones. She left screaming that the kingdom would regret its choice, but no one followed her. And so, the girl who walked into the village as an orphan walked out of the forest as a princess, her life turning in directions even the gods seemed eager to watch.